The film opens on a small, secluded house located in a forest. Inside the house is Maddie Young, a deaf and mute writer who communicates using American Sign Language, ASL, and lip reading. She lost her hearing at age 13 due to bacterial meningitis and has retreated into the woods to live a solitary life. Maddie is preparing dinner, managing several dishes including lamb, rice, and asparagus. She reads the instructions for a sauce and tries a sample, which she dislikes. As she works, her computer is plugged into a charger and she continues a text conversation with her neighbor on her phone. Maddie receives a message from her neighbor, Sarah, who asks to come over, and Maddie agrees. Maddie calls her cat, feeds her, and then goes outside to greet Sarah as she approaches the house. Sarah immediately mentions that she loved Maddie's book and attempts to converse with her using sign language, wanting to practice. Maddie tells Sarah that her ability to create multiple possible endings for her stories comes from her writer's brain. She states that any possible outcome plays out in her mind like a movie, and she finds it difficult to quiet the voices in her head. When asked, she says her inner voice sounds like her mother. Suddenly, the fire alarm sounds inside the house, causing them to rush back in. Maddie takes the alarm down while Sarah removes the lamb from the oven. During the commotion, Maddie's cat escapes. Sarah notes how loud the alarm is, and Maddie explains that it needs to be very loud so she can feel the vibrations in her sleep. Later, they talk on the porch about the escaped cat, but Maddie tells Sarah not to worry because the cat is very independent. Sarah suggests they order food at her house because Maddie's meal was ruined, but Maddie declines, stating she has to work on her novel. Before Sarah leaves, she rehearses the new signs Maddie taught her. Maddie deletes a message from a man named Craig shortly after Sarah is gone. Later that night, Maddie is working on her new novel on her computer and eating. She is struggling with writer's block and cannot decide on the best ending for her book, as she is playing with multiple endings. Facing a writing hurdle, Maddie tries to FaceTime Craig but drops the call before it connects. He continues to call her on both her laptop and phone, but she does not answer. Maddie goes to clean the kitchen mess from earlier. Outside, a masked assailant abruptly murders Sarah right in front of Maddie's window. Sarah had been banging on the door in a panic, hoping Maddie would see her. Maddie does not notice any of the commotion because of her deafness. The killer observes Maddie through the window and then knocks on the glass to test if she can hear him. When he realizes she is deaf, he drags Sarah's body away and decides to make Maddie his next victim. Still unaware, Maddie returns to her writing, though she is still struggling. Meanwhile, the masked killer enters the house and walks up behind Maddie. Completely oblivious to his presence, she laughs about her writer's block. The killer backs away when Maddie receives a FaceTime call from her sister. They briefly discuss her novel, and Maddie mentions Craig. Her sister advises her to start dating again and to stop isolating herself by moving back to the city, but Maddie resists the idea. The killer grabs Maddie's phone from the counter, and her sister notices the movement on the video call. Maddie dismisses it, suggesting it might be the cat, and ends the call, saying she needs to find the animal. She then uses the sound of food shaking in a bowl to call the cat, but the cat does not come. After checking the house and not finding the cat upstairs, Maddie opens the front door and calls the cat again. She leaves the door open when the cat still does not appear. She sits down to write once more. But the situation is about to get worse. Suddenly, Maddie receives a picture message sent from her own phone to her computer. The images show her looking for the cat and then the exact moment she is looking at the images on her computer screen. This realization fills Maddie with fear. Maddie cautiously approaches the door and sees the killer standing on her porch. He displays her phone, and she immediately rushes to close the door, securing it just in time. The killer then tries every door of the house, but when he realizes he cannot enter, he moves to the other side of the structure. He nearly manages to get inside, but Maddie is able to keep him out. She attempts to call emergency services by dialing 911 on her computer. However, the killer turns the power off, cutting the internet connection. She tries to connect to Sarah's Wi-Fi network, but she does not know the password. The killer attempts to intimidate her further, then walks away. Maddie goes to the door and watches as he slashes the tires on her car before hiding in the woods. She decides to write a message on the glass of the door and illuminates it with a flashlight. The message is intended to persuade him to leave, stating that she has not seen his face. The killer reads the message and then removes his mask. He asks if she can read his lips, and she nods affirmatively. The man informs her that he knows she lives alone and that no boyfriend is coming to the house. He then tells her that he can enter the house whenever he chooses. He states he will only come for her when she wishes for death. She nods to show she understands, and before he walks away, he tells her they can have fun. Maddie goes to the kitchen and retrieves a knife and a hammer. She takes the weapons back to the living room and checks them. Next, she moves to her bedroom, barricades the door, and pulls the curtains across the windows. She cautiously peers through a window but does not see him outside. Suddenly, a shadow appears on the window. He knocks on the window, and Maddie sees the movement in the shadows cast on the ground. When she checks, she realizes he is using Sarah's dead body to knock on her window. Maddie drops her weapons and retreats to the living room, crying. Then, she remembers that Sarah had put her phone in her back pocket. She takes out her car keys and attempts to activate the car alarm, but the signal cannot reach through the window. She opens the door briefly and quickly manages to activate the car alarm. The man hears the noise, and Maddie sees him walk toward the car. She runs back toward her room, intending to search Sarah's pockets for the phone, but the killer returns. She pulls back inside and slams the window down onto the man's fingers. In a moment, she grabs her knife and stabs him. The man is bleeding, so he rips a piece of Sarah's shirt and uses it to wrap his injured arm. He realizes that Maddie was looking for Sarah's phone. He shows her that he has the phone and then leaves it on Sarah's body. She walks back to the living room, and he attempts to open the window again. However, things take a turn soon after. Moments later, Maddie sees the killer moving outside and quickly hides from his view. He peers through the glass door and does not see her, but he correctly guesses her hiding spot. She opens the door and leaves the house, hiding under the porch when she sees him. The man walks right past her hiding spot. Maddie uses her sense of touch to feel the vibrations from his steps on the wooden floor. The killer walks around the house again, attempting to trick her into coming out of hiding. When she runs, he shoots at her several times with a crossbow, but keeps missing. She manages to get back inside the house and locks the door again. Maddie goes up to the second floor and observes him from there. Seeing that he is positioned at the front door, she opens a window and climbs out onto the back of the house. She takes care to be extra quiet as the killer is on the front side of the house. To distract him, she throws her lit flashlight into the woods. The man follows the flashlight, and as she climbs down from the roof, he shows up and shoots her with the crossbow. He shoots her again and then climbs up onto the roof to confirm if he hit her. Meanwhile, Maddie removes the arrow from her leg. When the killer reaches the roof, she pushes him off and grabs his crossbow. She does not know how to load the weapon, which gives him time to climb after her. She manages to get back inside the house just before he reaches the window. Maddie points the unloaded crossbow at him, which scares him away temporarily. She then goes to her bathroom to treat her leg wound. Maddie pours alcohol onto the injury and wraps her leg to stop the bleeding. While in the bathroom, she cries and tries to figure out her next step. She examines the crossbow and notices markings on it. She attempts to load the weapon but cannot engage the mechanism that holds the bow drawn. As she tries again, the man watches her through the bathroom window. Suddenly, another man knocks on her front door, looking for Sarah. Maddie does not hear him, but the killer does. The man is identified as John, Sarah's boyfriend. John sees the message on Maddie's door and prepares to call the police. The killer appears, pretending to be a police officer. He tells John to drop his phone, but John explains that the phone is not a weapon and says he does not want any trouble. The killer demands that John drop to his knees and show his ID. John says his ID is in his wallet and sets his phone down to retrieve it. He takes out the wallet, and the killer snatches it from him. The killer checks the ID and asks if John lives next door. John nods. The killer apologizes for scaring him and lies, claiming he responded to a call and found the house in its current state. He says someone inside the house ran past him when he arrived, knocking him out, and stole his gun and radio. He tells John he needs to call the sheriff. John starts to doubt the man as a cop. The killer insists he is a deputy new to the job. The man asks to use John's phone, and John hands it over. He pretends to call his station for John's benefit. When he finishes the fake call, he puts the phone in his own pocket instead of returning it. The two men discuss Maddie, and John mentions that she mostly keeps to herself. John notices the man's bleeding arm and asks about it. The killer lies, saying the person who jumped him inflicted the wound. John asks for his phone back. When the killer hands it over, Sarah's earring falls out of the killer's pocket, and John recognizes it. John begins questioning the man to catch him in a lie. Still unaware of what's coming next, he continues. The killer dodges all of John's questions. In the meantime, Maddie is still struggling inside the house, trying to draw the crossbow, but making no progress. John is now sure that the man is not a police officer. He tells the man that Maddie has a spare key hidden in a planter located at the bottom of the exterior stairs. When the man goes down to check the planter, John picks up a rock. John continues to chat with the killer so he does not realize that John is planning to attack him. The moment John gets a chance to strike the killer over the head, Maddie starts banging on the window. The killer is alerted and stabs John. John still pursues the killer, but the man runs around him until John collapses onto the ground. Maddie witnesses the entire confrontation. The killer thanks Maddie for showing up at the right time. He leans toward the dying John. John quickly jumps the killer, tackles him, and grabs him tightly, telling Maddie to run. In one possible outcome that plays out in Maddie's mind, she goes out the back door, but the killer runs after her and hits her over the head with a rock, killing her. This was just one mental projection of her running away. Maddie's inner voice tells her that she cannot run. She remains inside the house. In the actual sequence, John dies before he can kill the man. Maddie continues to go through all the different possibilities and outcomes of her situation in her mind. She considers possibilities, such as shooting the killer or going outside to turn the power back on. She also thinks about hiding places inside the house, including the bathroom or the loft. She realizes that even if she successfully hides, she could still bleed to death from her arrow wound. Outside the house, she thinks about hiding in the crawlspace, but the killer already knows she hid there once. Maddie recognizes she is running out of time, as she is starting to feel dizzy, cold, and her vision is blurring. Her inner voice warns her that the killer holds the advantage regardless of her chosen tactic. The voice concludes that she cannot run, cannot hide, and cannot wait. Maddie suddenly realizes what she must do to save herself. She must kill the killer. Meanwhile, the man checks John's pockets and finds a pack of cigarettes. He goes over to Maddie's car and takes out a wrench. Sitting down on the car, he lights a cigarette and decides to wait a little longer before entering the house, allowing Maddie to lose more blood. Suddenly, her cat appears. The killer crouches down and is about to kill the cat when Maddie shoots him with a crossbow. She runs back inside the house, and the killer chases her. He manages to catch her hand in the door, breaking it. He releases her hand, and she locks the door. The man breaks the arrow shaft and announces that he is coming inside. Maddie stands up to face him, then uses her own blood to write the phrase "Do it, coward" on the glass door. He walks toward the car to retrieve the wrench. Maddie uses this time to write his description in an open document on her laptop. As he begins to break the glass on her door, she types a message for her mother and father. Maddie then hides in the bathroom and waits for him. She is starting to lose consciousness and does not notice him entering through the bathroom window behind her. Still unaware of what's coming next, she continues. The killer lets out a breath, which Maddie can feel on her neck. She quickly turns around, dodging his knife, and manages to stab him. She runs out of the bathroom and heads to the kitchen, where she seemingly collapses on the floor, losing consciousness. The man, limping from his injuries, moves toward her, ready to kill her. Suddenly, Maddie springs back up and sprays his eyes with wasp repellent. She then grabs the fire alarm and activates it, which further incapacitates the killer until he drops his knife. Maddie grabs the knife, but the killer pushes her onto the floor, and they fight. He almost manages to kill her, but she reaches for a wine opener and uses it to kill him. Maddie regains her strength and takes her phone out of the killer's pocket. She dials 911 and then passes out from her injuries and blood loss. A bit later, Maddie, severely injured but alive, walks out of her house and sits down on her porch. Her cat sits next to her. Finally, the police arrive at the scene, signifying her survival and resilience.